You're listening to the Liberty Talks podcast with Michael Anderson and John Douglas on Freedom First Radio.
We have to find a way to talk and have dialogue and be tolerant between other views.
You have to have open dialogue, and that's where free speech is so important.
Consent's a very important thing, and today in the Me Too movement, it's been very important because I think it's really opened up a lot of eyes.
I think we should get away from this hookup culture and get back to relationships, because when you have a relationship, you have that communication, you have that connection.
If you committed sexual assault, it doesn't matter when it was, you should be held accountable for that. However, we have to make sure that we actually make sure they committed sexual assault, and we have to make sure that all allegations are verified.
They'll put in these programs thinking that it'll help everyone, but what they forget is that the pathway to hell is paved with good intentions.
And I think that's what this whole movement is all about anyways, is trying to be open to ideas.
Welcome back to the Liberty Talks podcast with Michael Anderson. Now, I want to update you guys a little bit about what's going down and all these different things that have been happening since the Christmas and winter break. So we've only released a couple of episodes since then, and essentially what's going down is we got more or less a sponsorship. Freedom First Radio is going to start featuring Liberty Talks podcast on their website and on their other platforms, which will be like Spotify and Stitcher, I believe. I know on Spotify and some other ones as well. You guys know we're on Spreaker, SoundCloud, and YouTube for Liberty Talks. So one of the new things with Liberty Talks is that we're going to have new contributors to the program. One of them is actually here with us tonight, and that's Christian Ehmling. We're going to hear from him a little bit later on into the program, but some other people are from Young Americans for Liberty in Houston and other places as well. So you'll get introduced to these people over the next few podcasts, and from now on, we'll also be dropping one per week, if not two. So get excited for that. Tonight's topic is end the war on drugs and then build the wall. Now, what in the world is this? Like, Liberty Talks. This is a libertarian type of show about politics. What are you talking about? Building the wall, Mike? Like, what is that? Okay, let me tell you guys. So, the way I see it is I am not an open borders or closed borders individual, libertarian, whatever you say. I don't like binary choices. This is why I became a libertarian in the first place. Why do we have to be Republicans and Democrats? You only have two choices. What is this? So no, I think we can control our border and have immigration. I think it's better if we did it like this. If we ended the war on drugs, which means that you would be putting the drug dealers and the drug cartels out of business. And you cannot do it with just marijuana because weed goes through the legal port of entries. So, and weed's already practically legal in the United States as it is. So most people are not trying to get it from Mexico. They're trying to get it from Cali. And so, look, you have to end the war on drugs. That'll put the black market on the free market. You have to free the market and stop putting the money into the pockets of these drug cartels. And then you know what? Then put some money behind a wall or border security so that way that we can get people in legally, document them, make sure that they are contributing legally and contributing to society and the economy, not just to society. And this will help ease tensions in the United States. Why are Democrats not passing this through? I mean, look at what Democrats were saying over the last 10 years. Oh, we need border security. Oh, illegal immigration is bad. There's actually going to be a clip later on in the show where college students are actually surprised the Democrats used to take this position. It's something else. So this is the case that I'm talking about. This is what I think is a common sense solution. Do I want to cut spending? Yes. Let's cut spending and let's cut warfare and let's cut welfare. But I think we need to stop trying to be binary choice individuals and try to get something else in this. So Christian, what do you think about all this? What do you think about what I'm saying as a conservative libertarian like myself? Does this make sense, or do you think I'm just a washed-up, has-been libertarian now?
Oh, you're definitely a has-been now. You can't sit on the wall and just say, "Oh, build the wall and be a libertarian." No, I'm just messing around there. Coming in to this talk, I'm not that much of a wall person. I'm more of a, in the drug war, in the welfare state, and reform the immigration system instead of building a wall. Mainly because, one, we don't have the money, and two, I'm worried about landowners here on the Texas border and along the border everywhere else in the country. But with the way you're talking, with how we can compromise on this issue, I think that it would honestly be a really good idea. I mean, most people, they keep on talking about, oh, we need the wall because of drugs and everything of the sort. And it's like, well, you're going to build a wall. They're going to get it in here anyway. Pablo was sending cocaine through on little airplanes coming through the Caribbean back in the 80s. They're going to find a way to get stuff here. What we're going to have to do to stop drug trade coming into America is strangling them. And by strangling them, you take away their money. So we're going to have to end the war on drugs to end drug trade coming across our border. And I completely agree with you there. And I think that would be a great way to compromise on building the wall, on getting people who are addicts, getting them not to be addicts anymore, and also probably ending the shutdown as well.
Exactly. It all comes together, and it's just like when Democrats a few months ago were offered the Dreamers for the Wall in Congress. I was like, what the hell, Democrats? Like, are you guys liberal? What do you want? You're not going to compromise for this? You could be helping people's lives and be securing the border at the same time, but you just want to be just as hard left as the right is going, just no compromise, no nothing. And that's one of the reasons also why I've been considering more border security and becoming more of a pro-wall type of person, because the Democrats, they don't it's not an honest argument. But let me address those points that you were talking about. So eminent domain, I totally get that, and I don't want to use eminent domain. I don't really like it at all. However, it is a constitutional power. It is a legitimate power of the Constitution. Now, let's not abuse it, though. Obviously, let's not abuse it.
Of course.
And if you look at what Justin Amash did, he was proposing a bill to limit eminent domain and trying to give just compensation and real just compensation. So these are things that I like. Now, also, I am a person who lived in Texas for a while and who understands certain things about it. So Isaiah Carey from the Isaiah Factor actually posted up an old interview that he had, or an old segment from back in the day when they built a wall in Texas. And one of the problems that they had in Texas is that they build an uneven wall so that way Texans are on the Mexico side of the wall. So they have to come through, or they have to ask someone to open up the gate sometimes. And that's absolutely ridiculous. Like, these are...
I think I saw something about that a couple years back, honestly. I'm not going to lie to you there. That actually sounds extremely familiar to me. I mean, and those scenarios do happen where it just ends up like that.
Exactly. So, I don't have blind faith in the government. I don't want them to just build a wall, just like eminent domain that crap and just steal everyone's land. No, I mean, like, let's do it the right way, okay? I mean, obviously the government usually doesn't do anything the right way, but if we have better leaders and we're actually trying to oversee this properly, I think it could work, and that's the best way we can get things done, is do it like this. This is obviously something in Texas that I don't want Texans to be on the Mexico side of the border. Like, if we're gonna do this, we have to get it right.
Right, we have to get it 100% right. Like, whenever back in 2016, 2015, when Donald Trump first was running and he was talking about the wall, the concept of eminent domain coming into my head about the wall. That was the first thing that came into my mind as a Texan, because a lot of people own property on the border. The vast majority of the Texas-Mexico border is privately owned, So, and if you look at eminent domain, how it's usually used in this country, it's not fair at all in the way that it's used or in the compensation towards the property owners, which is why if Congressman Amash's bill were to pass, that would let me ease up a little bit on the wall. And whenever it comes to funding for the wall, I saw a couple of weeks ago Senator Rand Paul was on TV, and he was saying, we're pulling people out of Afghanistan. We spend billions there a year. I think he said around $12 billion a year there. Why not just take $5 billion out of that whenever we start withdrawing people and put that towards the wall? You know, it's all about finding ways to make stuff work, I think. And the more you try to find alternate solutions to get to where you want to be, I think that's what should bring more people to the bargaining table.
Well, there are certain things where I would highly disagree with the president on certain things, like establishing a national emergency if he doesn't get his way. Like this right here is something I've seen. Exactly. I've seen Ron Paul libertarians be like, yes, do it. You know, like, what are we? Are we really just going to try to get things done? Like, this is something I adamantly disagree with the president on, and I think it would be an abuse of executive power and against the Constitution.
I would too. Like I was looking at this and I was seeing what a lot of my friends say. A lot of commentators were saying, if President Trump were to do this, this could open up a floodgate of executive overreach. You know, we already have that for the past 100 years, executive overreach with the imperial presidency and whatnot. But if we can declare a national emergency for a wall, what's going to stop somebody from declaring a national emergency for seizing private property from people? A national emergency saying, oh yeah, we need to raise income taxes another 50%, or a universal health care system, things that aren't voted for by Congress. It'll essentially open up the floodgate to making the president a dictator, and that is something that I am extremely worried about if the whole national emergency thing becomes a factor in the whole building the wall process.
See, guys, we are still libertarian here at Liberty Talks podcast. We are still anti-authority. We are still questioning the government because that's what we do. We have to. I mean, even when you, it's like what we're saying. Even when we're saying, hey, look, we probably should have a border. We're still skeptical about how we should do it, and I think that's how we should go into things. Not just saying, yeah, we just need to do it. You know, no, we need to be very, very skeptical of how the government gets things done.
Exactly. That's why I've been initially not for the wall in the first place, is because I know the government likes to abuse its power and it hurts the common guy like you and me. So everything the government does, I take it with a grain of salt. I'm like, okay, how can they use this to screw us over? That's exactly what I look at anytime something new is proposed by the government itself, you know? And I think that's the way everyone should look at it, you know? Is this too much of the government's doing? Whenever it comes to the wall, we should be saying, okay, let's look at the pros and cons of the situation. Let's see if it's actually feasible that we can get this done. And let's try to find a way to get everybody to agree on it.
I think you're right. And you're still, like, I guess you could say, I would consider myself a pro-wall type of libertarian. Maybe not like a big, beautiful wall, but like, I mean, patch up the fences and let's try to do this stuff right. I mean, I want a border. Like, I really do. And the reason why, another thing is, like, think about it economically speaking. People come here and they contribute to society, but they're not contributing to the economy. I mean, taxation is theft, right? But like, I still get, like,
of course.
Exact. Taxation is theft, but like I still get money taken out of my paycheck every single day, and I still have to pay taxes at the end of the year. So, like, I don't want Bob to steal from me and to give to Fred, but like, while Bob's stealing to me and giving to Fred, Chico's jumping over the border and then stealing from everybody and not contributing to anything. So I don't just feel like, oh, he needs to contribute. Like, it's also, you get rights. Like, think about it. If you just document people, you solve a lot more problems. I'm definitely, like, look, even as a libertarian, I want to throw up in my mouth just saying document people, because I'm anti, if you asked me a few years ago when I first became a Texas driver and I had to do a thumbprint, and I was like, no way, this is anti-Fourth Amendment, this is privacy, yada, yada, yada. But, like, this is the world we live in, people. And I think this is a fundamental disagreement that I have with with hardcore philosophical libertarians, even though I would consider myself a philosophical libertarian, is that they're not thinking practically or in reality. They're just thinking open borders, freedom, let people do what they want. But you have to acknowledge the welfare state. Like, where is the welfare state at? Where is, like, also these people getting more rights as becoming documented? If you're not a documented citizen, you don't have rights. You don't have as many rights. Like, it's more or less a fact. Like, look, that's why you're considered illegal. That's why they treat you inhumane, right? I mean, I'm not advocating for people to do that.
These people are coming in illegally, and it's not only is it like compromising to national security in some aspects, but whenever you come here illegally, you're essentially becoming a second-class, quote-unquote, citizen.
Yes.
You're going to be targeted. It will make you even bigger of a victim of the government than actual citizens. You know, it's a good thing to come here and get citizenship, but you also got to look, why do people come here illegally in the first place? You know, the vast majority of people are coming here to make a better life for themselves and for their families. That's why my wife's family came here back in the 70s, was to make a better life for themselves that they couldn't get in Mexico, you know? So why, like, whenever I was, you know, trying to form an opinion on immigration, former President Ronald Reagan, you know, he back in the 80s, he was saying, you know, we need to have a path to citizenship. We need to be able to give these people, like, say, like a social security card, get them documented so they can work here. And if they want to become a citizen, they can. And if they want to go back to where they come from, they can. You know, we just got to make sure that these people aren't coming here and becoming second-class citizens and having to live in fear of the government every day of their lives. It's not healthy. It wears you down.
This is exactly my point right here. Thank you, Christian. Thank you. I mean, that's exactly what I'm trying to get at, is like, I want to help people, you know? Yeah. And
that's why most people become libertarians, is because they want people to have a better life.
Exactly. And the funny part about it is, due to, like, me saying this and just putting it out there on Facebook, I've had a ton of libertarians just unfriend me. Now, I've had probably a ton of libertarians unfriend me for a different thing that we're going to talk about on our next podcast. But I could tell you, like, my friends list has gone down at least a couple hundred, like, in the last month. So it's interesting to see. So, and a lot of people disagreeing with me and just, like, telling me off. And I mean, I'm trying to be cordial with them, but
I think it's just crazy how, like, people just can't come together. Like, libertarians, Republicans, Democrats, liberals, commies, conservatives, you name it. We can't just come together and find a way to solve the problems that we have at hand. That's why we have this whole shutdown thing going down anyway, is because we don't know how to agree with each other. We lived in such a hyper-partisan society that we can't get nothing done. It's a huge problem.
No, you're exactly right, and I think the government shutdown is really the best argument for a libertarian society, because think about it, government can't get anything done. They can't get anything done right. So, like, the best idea would be to localize government, make it on the most localized based government ever. That's what I believe, and I think localized government is the best thing, and really the best way to get things done, because more or less you can get whatever you want done in local government, and that it would take years or decades to get done in the federal government.
Right. I mean, even our founding fathers understood that. That's why we had a 10th Amendment. You know, it's like, okay, the Constitution's right here. This is what the federal government does. 10th Amendment says everything's left up to the states, right? Because they understood that the federal government isn't going to be able to manage this, and this. It's not going to be able to manage military, education, agriculture. It's not going to be able to manage all of those things all at once. So they understood, you know, this stuff has to be at this level, this stuff has to be at this level, this stuff has to be at this level.
And let me ask you something, and this is where some libertarians would be like, well, what are you saying? You're saying that the government needs to be localized, but you want to have this big, beautiful wall. Well, no, I don't want the big, beautiful wall for once. I mean, maybe, let's do it, I guess. But this is something that I actually see should be underneath the federal umbrella. If there's one thing I want to have a federal government for, it's for a military, and I think also to protect the borders at the same time. Like, those are two things. And it's like you said a little bit earlier, I mean, I used to hear Fox News pundits say, oh, there's terrorists, like, coming into the United States via the Mexican border, but I never saw any true reports, right? I never saw any facts. But I hear recently there are actual facts and statistics coming out via Border Patrol saying that they have caught people from the Middle East, people that are suspected terrorists coming in through our border. And, you know, some libertarians would be like, well, you're going to believe that propaganda? Well, I mean, I'm trying to be a realist, and it's coming from the border security. So, I mean, Border Patrol, what do you think? I mean, like, yeah, I'm going to believe it. And yeah, let's make sure that this is a federal issue, and we need to make sure that we get this done. That's the way I see it.
Trust me, people have used that argument towards me whenever I cite a report that was given out by the Department of Defense, I think last year, about the Syrian government not being the ones who are shooting off the chemical weapons and stuff. You know?
Oh, yeah, right.
So, sometimes, you know, the government, you know, seems like legit, and sometimes you listen to it. But, you know, open borders in this type of society, the United States is decentralized. I mean, why am I saying decentralized? Destabilized the Middle East so much with that a whole bunch of people are just leaving, mass exodus, you know, refugees and stuff. And I'm fine with taking those people in, you know. Our country was built on the backs of immigrants, refugees, people trying to make a better life for themselves. That's A-okay. But if you look at Europe, sometimes people slip in through the cracks, you know. Sometimes bad people slip through. The world's not a perfect place. It can't be all sunshine and rainbows. There's gonna be bad things that happen, and we should try our hardest to take precautions to that. It might sound insensitive saying, oh, there's nothing but terrorists coming across the border. But we should instead say there could be a possibility that terrorists could come across the border, and we need to make sure that we prevent that possibility.
You're listening to Liberty Talks Podcast with Michael Anderson and John Douglas. Follow us on Twitter at Michael4Freedom and at Real John Douglas. Subscribe and listen to the show on Spreaker, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Liberty Talks Podcast is brought to you by all of our musician contributors and musical producers, including Shamari and Jarrell Beats. So, what do you think about this government shutdown?
Well, I could always be like super libertarian and just say, hell yeah, shut it all down. It needs to be shut down some more. You know, I could always be that guy. But honestly, you know, 26 days in, and the little guy doesn't seem to see any difference. The only people that this is affecting
26
are
days.
like people who are government workers or people trying to go through Terminal B at Bush Airport out here in Houston. Like these are like the only people that I'm hearing complaints from about this shutdown. Life seems to be going on anyway. I saw a John Stossel video talking about it, you know, and it made me start thinking, why are we saying that we're only shutting down non-essential parts of the government? If it's so non-essential, why do we even have it in the first place if we can just shut it down? And I'm not saying, you know, like just screw everybody with all their jobs and stuff, but it's like the government can't stay open. Why should we delegate things to it instead of having it managed by the private sector?
No,
Have
this
you ever stopped to think about that?
Exactly. This is exactly where I'm at. I mean, look, I feel bad for the people that don't get they're not getting paid. I feel bad even bad for people that are forced to go to work and not get paid. I mean, what is that? That sounds like slavery to me. But
it's slavery with extra steps, my friend.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it sounds like it. But think about it. Like this is what I've been telling a lot of people is like, look, why don't those people go out and get a job on the free market, right? They probably make more money, do better things. And I said, but there's a counter argument to that too. Like certain industries that you go into, they are only in the federal government. This is the argument. It's making people think. Like, for example, should the TSA be ran by the government? Should other things be ran by the government? Do you need a government to do everything? You know, why like you said, the non-essential parts, why can we not delegate that to states or localized government or businesses or nonprofits?
Or privatize it.
Exactly. I mean, they exactly
Let's
privatize
think
it.
about it this way. You know, people more so say TSA is a libertarian example, but I'm going to cite that video that I just mentioned from John Stossel. Let's say the FDA. Okay, the FDA, people are always like, well, who's going to inspect the food and make sure it's safe? Most companies, be it like Chipotle, I think they were the ones who had that E. coli outbreak. After that whole thing happened, they started going beyond what the government set as the standard to make sure their food is safe. And most companies do that. Most companies go beyond the government standard anyway. So what real purpose does that serve with the FDA? Why? I trust companies that want to make a profit and don't want to screw over people to make sure their food is good. But let's go to the usual argument, the TSA. I think which airport is it? San Francisco has a privatized security and stuff there, and everything just goes smoothly there, just fine. While you have the I used to work in retail. The secret shoppers come in through the TSA, with like fake bombs, fake guns, and stuff inside of their bags. 70% of the time, the TSA does not catch on to that. What is the TSA there for if they're not catching on to that type of thing? I think that we should privatize it. I mean, if out here at the airport in Houston, we're a busy airport out here, and Terminal B is shut down because of the government shutdown in TSA and whatnot. People are having to flood through other parts of the airport, and it's causing congestion at the airport. So it's like, why?
Exactly. I mean, this could be handled very differently. And actually, newsflash, last time I saw it updated when I was working in the airport at IAH, it was actually a 90% fail rate. They got a 10%.
90%?
Yeah, it was a 90%. So they got a 10% success rate. Like, yeah, shut it down.
God.
Shut this down.
This is why I've been so anti-TSA for all these years. Holy shit. Pardon
Yes.
the French.
but so there's a part of me, it's like, look, I mean, people do need to get back to work. I mean, air traffic controllers, like them. Yeah, of course they don't need to be working for the government, but that's a job where if you want to be an air traffic controller, you work for the government. Like, it's just how it is. That's just it is what it is. So, and this is actually something AOC, Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, said that one of her constituents was talking to her about his job and whatnot, and it's like, essentially what she was saying was that, hey, look, air traffic control is a very important job. It's very stressful. And then now this guy has to go to work every single day knowing that he's not getting paid. Like, think about the stress about that. And exactly. I mean, why are we doing this? So I think it's so dumb that we're shutting down the government. I used to be one of those people that, oh yeah, shut down the government, because it actually makes people think a lot of times. But it seems to be hurting Americans, and it seems to be antithetical to like what we're trying to do. Like, is this really making America great again? Like Trump, I mean, like, is that what it is? I mean, look, you got to criticize him when he's wrong. You got to talk about him when he's right. But this is something, I think it's probably gone on a little bit too long. I mean, hey, Democrats, you guys suck too, because we already talked about how they're being super hypocritical.
It seems like all sides of this whole shutdown thing. Like, I've worked as a substitute teacher. I've had kindergartners that understand the concept of compromising better than the federal government of the United States of America does. If a 4 or 5-year-old kid can understand, hey, we got to give and take some to get things done, why can't Donald Trump and Nancy Pelosi come to an understanding?
Yeah, it's crazy, and this is the like I said, I think this is a perfect example for a libertarian society. Is look at what's going on right now. And newsflash, people, it's not just Nancy Pelosi and Donald Trump. This has been happening.
Oh, definitely. I'm just using them as an example because that's all you hear about.
But you have to educate people too, though, because you have to educate people because people don't know. They're like, oh, this is all Trump. Like the way the media just said, oh, no one's ever done this before. It's like, people, this has happened,
this has happened how many times since the late 70s? This is the only thing with this one is this is just the longest one. When was the last one? 2013, 2014? It was over Obamacare.
Yeah.
President Obama and the Congress, which was a whole Republican Congress, couldn't get along on that.
So we're going to play this clip real quick from Campus Reform. It is kids being educated on that how Democrats used to be pro-border security. So I want to get your opinion on this, Christian.
I'm Kappa Fellows with Campus Reform. Today we're at American University in Washington, D.C., talking to students about President Trump's proposed border wall. And we're going to be reading them a few quotes from President Trump in defense of his wall. But the thing is, they're not actually President Trump quotes. They're actually quotes from Democrat leaders defending stricter border security. What will students say when they find out? Let's go have a look. There's a government shutdown going on right now. Yeah. President Trump saying he wants funding for his border wall. The Democrats saying we're not going to give as much funding as you want. What's your thought on his push for this wall?
I'm not a fan.
Everyone has a shared reaction to this. It's absolutely horrendous.
I really don't see a need for it.
I don't think there should be a wall.
The wall is a really unrealistic solution. I mean, there have been many videos that have shown people easily crossing the wall that is supposed to keep people out or whatever.
It doesn't make any sense. Okay. Isn't there pretty much already fencing?
I'm going to read a few quotes here from President Trump talking about the need for the southern border wall. First quote, "We should spend money to build a barrier to prevent illegal immigrants from coming in." Another quote, "We simply cannot allow people to pour into the U.S. undetected, undocumented, and unchecked." Quote, "Illegal immigration is wrong, plain and simple. Until the American people are convinced we will stop future flows of illegal immigration, we'll make no progress." When you hear quotes like that, what's your reaction to them?
It's divisive. I think America is a land of opportunity, place for inclusion.
I just really think it's kind of hateful speech in general.
It's just a negative message. When he talks about illegal immigrants, it's just one rude to talk about people like that.
It kind of underlies a lot of things about discrimination and people and their prejudices and things like that. So I feel like that stuff is touchy to talk about.
There are racial biases sort of deep embedded in there.
In a word, I'd say it's more jingoist.
Well, I think his demeanor overall is just unacceptable.
I think just the way that he's referring to people across the wall is very dehumanizing.
So rhetoric like that is not helpful?
No, not at all.
What if I told you these were from Chuck Schumer, Barack Obama, and Hillary Clinton?
How about that?
Really?
Really.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Democrats and Republicans have said things about border control.
That's interesting. I didn't think that. That's interesting. That would surprise me.
It's true.
Well then, can you tell me which ones they were respectively?
That's a very good surprise, by the way. If this were a Trump quote, I believe it would be a lot more, maybe a lot less calculated.
I don't know. They wouldn't say that. I feel
like they did.
It's their demeanor is the way they come off is I don't even know what to say.
So, Christian, what do you think about this clip, man? I mean, college kids are over here saying that, oh yeah, the rhetoric that the rhetoric that Obama and Hillary Clinton used back in the day, and Chuck Schumer is racist and all this stuff. He's saying, oh, this is Donald Trump's quote, but it's really Nancy Pelosi and all the Democrats.
I just think that it just goes to show about how uninformed and hyper-partisan our society is. Me and you, we both work with Young Americans for Liberty. We both interact with college students all the time. I'm pretty sure that we've both had moments, where we talk to students about a typical left-wing talking point and then show oh, this happens with it too. And then they're like, what?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, John Douglas and I have done that a lot about pro-life positions, and I mean, obviously, we do that a lot with Young Americans for Liberty, and every other position out there. We're always trying to educate people. But yeah, it is. I mean, it's just kind of the usual. Look at how dumb college kids are and what they actually know about politics and what they think.
It's not. I don't think it's a dumb. Not look how dumb college kids are. I think it's a look how dumb our society has become. Because I'm pretty sure that if you took that little thought experiment and took it to downtown Houston or downtown LA or wherever you live, you'd get the same responses. It would be, oh, wow, that's super racist. Why did Trump say that? And they're like, well, this is actually a quote from Barack Obama when he was a senator in 2006. And they'd be like, what? And people got to understand, it's so strange to me that all of these people in office are suddenly against things that they were 4, 5, 10 years ago. Now that it's a Republican saying, and I'm pretty sure that if the tables were turned, it'd be going the exact same way. You'd have people who are talking about, like, let's say Lindsey Graham saying we should build a wall. If it were the other way around, I'm pretty sure he'd be hating on the wall too if a Democrat was wanting to build it.
I don't know what exactly this is, if it's just being anti-Trump. I mean, obviously that's a thing, but like it also may be just the Democrats are just scared out of their mind because, Bernie Sanders almost got elected. But I think they're like, we got to be leftist, we got to be socialist now, but I don't think that's what they should be doing. I think but it seems like that's what they are doing.
I was fixed to say I would not doubt that a bit. That's how it works in Washington and Austin and your local city hall. You got to play politics to get elected, and I think that's exactly what's going on right now with this whole wall debate. Because I mean, I watch the TV and I rarely see the Democrats like give an example. Oh, we support a secure border. How? And they usually just like they spin the question some. Sometimes they say, oh, we need drone security or some stuff like that, and I'm just like, why not? So like at least the Republicans are giving an actual solution and laying out their plan for it. Whether you agree with it or not, at least they're giving you some meat. Whether they have sauce with that meat, that's up to you. That's up to your discretion. But I mean, we gotta stop with the plain politics. It doesn't matter if you get reelected or not. Being a politician isn't a career. You're supposed to be a citizen servant. It's not supposed to you stay in office for 50 years and just chill out and have a cool retirement package. You have to take a stand somewhere. You gotta compromise your electability, and you gotta stand on some principle. And right now, with that clip and with those quotes, it seems like the Democrats aren't standing on principle that they were standing on before.
Christian, I gotta admit, that was really deep, but like, did you really say if you want sauce on that it's up to you? I mean, that's even more real. Like I was like, thank you, Christian Ehmling.
To quote one of my favorite rappers, Gucci Mane. All meat and no sauce. I use that quote way too much.
Yeah, you used that last time on the podcast, but the way you said the sauce is up to you, I mean, it's really true. But then you're right, man. Like the Democrats are not standing on principle right now. And like, as someone who is the son of a former Democrat, like he's losing his mind about it right now too. My dad, he used to be a Democrat and he can't stand them because of this same exact type of issue. They're not standing on principle anymore. And not to say that the Republicans always do, because they sure don't.
Yeah.
All right, so that was it tonight. Thank you guys for listening to the Liberty Talks podcast with Michael Anderson and our contributor tonight, Christian Ehmling. Christian, where can our listeners find you at?
You can find me on Twitter, where I share some really edgy posts for some fun, at Ehmling for Texas. That's EHMLING, number 4, Texas. And you can also find me on Facebook. You can add me on my personal account if you'd like to. But I also run a blog, East County Liberty Talk, where we take news from East Montgomery County here in Texas, and we take news from the state level and federal level, and just give a good old hometown Libertarian Texas spin on it. Hope to see y'all on my Twitter feed and on the ECLT page.